On your radio at AM 1590, on the web, plus Google Home and Alexa. Ask for us by name, WPSL Digital 1590.
Well, a very pleasant good evening. Time for Startup Talk right here on WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast. And here's Mr. Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to another segment and installment of Startup Talk, the show designed to assist and help Treasure and Research Coast residents who want to start, grow, or accelerate their business. As I always say, what a great place it is to own and operate a business along the beautiful Research and Treasure Coast. We will spend time during our hour together this evening to highlight and create awareness regarding the very powerful and robust business assistance and support programs that exist right here in our community at our very own Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve as the Regional Director for the Florida Small Business Development Center here at IRSC. Underwriters for this segment of Startup Talk are the Florida Small Business Development Center at Indian River State College and our good friends at Express Printing of Port St. Lucie. So, Greg,
you can unveil a new name of this show.
That's
after
right.
year 5.
That's right. We're going to we're going to move into a little beyond startups. Our new name for the show over the course of the next week or two will be Small Biz Florida, and we're kind of taking the show on the road. There'll be the radio version of our show, and there'll be the podcast version of our show.
Yep.
So,
and you'll be part of the Treasure Coast podcasting network that we're putting together.
That's right.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Again, thanks to all the support we've had through the years for Startup Talk. It's been a great show, and we've talked a lot of business on this show. So we are kind of taking it to the next level, and we appreciate our partnership here at WPSL and WSTU and WPSL TV. So a few changes coming with the show, and hopefully there's not a lot of changes coming over the course of the next 3 or 4 days as we're facing.
You mean landscaping?
we could have a few landscaping changes over the next couple of days as we face Dorian headed our way. Everyone just encourage everyone to stay safe and prepare and get your business prepared. We've talked on this show many times before about business continuity, about preparing the business. Back up your computers. Make sure you've got a good backup. You take it home with you so that you can restore all those files in the business. So, again, take care of yourself. Take care of your business. It's obviously a good time to also remind everyone that depending on where this hurricane makes landfall, remember that the Florida SBDC here at Indian River State College is the lead organization to deploy the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program. After Irma, we took about 56 applications. We were able to fund.
We were one of them.
Yep. We were able to fund 36 of those applications, and we distributed about $2.7 million across the Treasure Coast in emergency bridge loan proceeds and funding. The simple purpose and mission of the Florida Emergency Bridge Loan Program is to help businesses deal with that damage, that physical damage, economic damage to the business, and help them get back up and running as quickly as possible. There's a fairly scary little statistic that floats around out there in the world of business continuity that 40% of businesses that close after a disaster won't reopen. So the Florida SBDC
ouch.
And the state of Florida are here to help those businesses get back up and running quickly. We had a number of restaurants after the last hurricane, lost power, lost everything in their coolers, lost all their inventory.
Oh, yeah,
so
sure.
the bridge loan helped them get some ready cash, helped them refill the coolers and get back open and ready for business. You can apply for up to $50,000 for a small business that qualifies. It's a 180-day interest-free loan. So it really helps a business get back up and running quickly. So, again, depending on where this thing makes landfall, the SBDC here at IRSC will be open and ready to help you as soon as the storm clears the area. So please keep that in mind. You can get us at 462-7631. Get us at IRSCbiz.com. But just get in touch with us if this thing makes landfall along the Treasure Coast. We're here to help you and get access to this emergency bridge loan.
Sounds good. Yep, it works.
Yes, it does. It's a good program, and we helped a lot of folks after Irma and after Matthew. So keep that in mind. And again, most importantly, take care of your families and get your business prepared. And we'll see how it all works out over the weekend. We've got two great guests tonight. Maybe everybody has their radio on out in the yard while they're putting up the shutters. So two great guests. Where Greg, save this show because we're gonna have to run this one again when everybody's focused on our show. They may be out putting up shutters tonight. But two great guests. We've got our very good friend who's been with us many times, doing great work for the city of Fort Pierce. We've got Miss Calita Scott from the city of Fort Pierce. Welcome to the show again, Calita.
Thank you for having me. You guys are great.
Love having Calita. She always brings a lot of great news and updates on what's going on at the city of Fort Pierce. And tonight I'm just pleased as I can be, honored and excited to have with us Mr. Mark Donahue. Mark serves with the company DERECTOR. And DERECTOR is the newest company to come to the Treasure Coast, and DERECTOR is the organization that has recently signed an agreement, a lease with the St. Lucie County to take over the terminal in downtown Fort Pierce and turn that place into a do I say mega yacht repair center? Am I accurate there?
A world class.
Oh, world class. Sorry, I forgot the world class part.
Yacht repair facility.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Now, hold on, let me write that down. World class yacht repair center?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Just like
it.
Monaco.
Right. So listen, can't wait to talk to both of you tonight. But Calita, we want to start with you real quickly. You've got some big things going on, and you may have some. You may not have some big things going on. You may put them off. But let's talk about first. Get us a little started with talk about the Lincoln Park Initiative, Calita, and what's the history, purpose, and mission, and what's going on in Lincoln Park.
Well, I'm glad that Allegheny Franciscan Ministries is here in our community. I'll say that. I want to start off because they are the catalysts. They're the ones who are putting the spotlight or making us put a focus and spotlight on Lincoln Park. Historically, Lincoln Park's been a little left behind, not by everyone, but it's been left behind. And thankfully, Allegheny's here with about $7 or so million to funnel into Lincoln Park between 2014 and 2022. They are here in full effect. They're getting going. They have cohorts for small nonprofits that need capacity. They have grants that are all the way up to $500,000, small enough to be $2,500 grants that are open to many members in the community. They also have the Lincoln Park Career Pathways Initiative. That's a partnership with IRSC.
Absolutely.
Right at the Blackburn College on Avenue D. There's coursework and certifications available for Lincoln Park residents to be trained and then placed directly into positions right here on the Treasure Coast. So there's a lot of great things happening in Lincoln Park, specifically because of Allegheny Franciscan Ministries. They helped strengthen what all of our organizations are here to do, because a lot of times, to be real, it takes money to do a lot of the things we want to do. So my job as Lincoln Park Revitalization Coordinator is to make sure that we get that money spent in the right places and that all of the community partners here work together to get it done.
Yep. And you've got you've worked awful hard and got a very important and kind of a high-profile grant recently.
We did.
At the city of Fort Pierce. Talk about this local food, local places.
Oh my goodness! I got an email from Carol Alberts. Have to give a shout out to UF because they're an amazing partner.
You can always give a shout out to UF.
Go Gators! I'm going to say that too.
Right.
But Carol sent me this grant application. I looked at it, and it seemed really awesome because it's something that we needed. We are a food desert here in Fort Pierce. And wonderfully, we were selected as a finalist to be one of 15 in the country for Local Foods, Local Places, which is a USDA and EPA initiative to address food desert issues. And
Okay, I heard that terminology on
Yes.
TV news the other night.
Okay.
What does that mean?
a food desert,
Yeah.
it really means when you don't have access to fresh fruits or vegetables within a certain. I
Gotcha.
don't know the exact radius, so can't quote me on that.
No,
but
okay,
if
I
I
get it.
if I can't walk or have a short drive to a grocery store, there are some communities that are worse off than us, I will say, where you have to drive 30 minutes to get to a store. That's a real food desert. But right now we have what I call an attack on neighborhoods. When all I can do is walk down the street and buy chips and sodas, and I can't get any fresh fruits or vegetables, that's a problem. I love fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's because I grew up with them, but it's also because my great-grandmother, who grew up right in Fort Pierce, she planted food. She was the cafeteria manager at Lincoln Park Academy.
Wow.
We were raised to realize that this is how you're supposed to eat. My mom would tell me stories about always wanting to go to McDonald's, and my great-grandmother wouldn't let her. And that was, that's what we should do now.
Better not ask her to share the Doritos.
No. So again, we want to make sure that with this grant, we have an opportunity to collaborate with the health department, Department of Health. We have a partnership, of course, with Tom and IRSC and the Small Business Development Center.
Right.
We have the United Against Poverty UP Center that's right here on 25th Street in Orange. University of Florida IFAS is a strong partner always. We also are partnering with Treasure Coast Food Bank. So this is an initiative that is getting us all together so that we can attack this issue head on with the full support of the EPA and USDA, which means access to cash. They have already given us a broad list of grants that we will be eligible for that are specific to this unique group of they've been doing this program for about 15 years, so there are only 100 organizations, cities that are in this group, and we are the first one in Florida.
Wow.
So it's great.
Yeah, and you mentioned partnering with us, and,
Yes.
and we're certainly honored and proud and privileged to be part of your group. We're just a tiny little piece of
An
it.
important tiny piece.
Well, listen, but I got to tell you, some of the meetings that I have been involved in, I mean, these people aren't playing.
They
I
are
mean,
not playing.
They're
They
not
came
playing.
here with a goal to address our issues.
Yes,
and
they did.
I'll tell you, they were really impressed by the work that we've done so far. So in getting this grant, it's not to say that we're not doing our job here. We just need the assistance of the funding. And we also just need to realize that sometimes we're working harder and not smarter, and realizing that some of our efforts are duplicated. And if we can get all in a room and sit down and talk about what the real issues are and say who can do what, and we start pointing who can do what, and we start saying, hey, you can apply for that grant because they gave it to us.
I got to tell you, Calita, you're an impressive part of that grant, and the way you have directed things and organized things and led it so far and put together. You had a couple of public meetings and brought
Yes.
people in. I mean, it really was impressive to see what you and your team at the City of Fort Pierce did. And again, shout out to Carol. And
Yes.
I know Carol's been a big help and a big part of it, and your other partners, the food bank.
Yes.
And just an impressive group. I mean, I've been impressed, and we're just honored to be our tiny little business part of this. But
Well, that's a really big part of it because with that, we need businesses who want to start.
right.
We want those food-related businesses to start right here in Fort Pierce.
So who do they call? I mean, if there's a businessman or a lady listening that says, hey, I want to get involved in this, how would they do it?
They can contact me, Calita Scott. My number is 467-3168. I'm the Grants Administration Manager and Lincoln Park Revitalization Coordinator at the City of Fort Pierce, and I'm happy to give as much information as I can to anybody who wants to be a part of this initiative, because once Lincoln Park addresses those issues, the entire city, the entire county, all of the Treasure Coast is going to be that much better off.
Yep. Now, you primary reason we brought you out tonight,
Yes.
beyond the update, was you've got the second annual Lincoln Park Business Expo coming up. You, again, you and your team last year put together an incredible event.
It was great.
It was an excellent event. Greg and I were there
We were there.
live
Yes.
from the expo. We're going to be there live again from the expo this year.
Great.
But a great event last year. Percy Peak Gym, a Blackburn Center, Indian River State College's campus over on Avenue D. So an incredible event. You got the second annual coming up. So talk to us about the event, purpose, mission behind that event.
Well, I'll go back to my beginning days at the city of Fort Pierce, and I started off in the clerk's office, and every new business that comes and opens up has to come to our office. And I noticed that there are so many small businesses right from Lincoln Park, so many home-based businesses opening every day, and it just made me proud that there are so many, people with that spirit to get up and get what they need done. And if I can't get a job at a place around the corner, I'm going to make my own job. And I just thought that was amazing. But I also knew that so many of those same people didn't know of all the resources that we had around. So I wanted to put together an event that could allow them to, number one, to let them know that we see them and appreciate them, but also to let them know that there are people here to support you and they can give you information that you need. So we've a great partnership. Again, it's all about partnerships. That's what I'm here to do. But we've got partnerships with IRSC College of Business professors who are coming to teach business skills on marketing, how to market your business. We have partners like Emily McHugh coming to talk about entrepreneurial spirit. We also have a breakout session, so they can get some education on how to make their business better. Afterwards, we have about 6 sessions, and after that, from 4 to 6, we're going to have a pop-up shop, because now you've done the work, you've got some education. Now let's sell some of your goods and wares to the community. It's open to the public. We're going to have a radio station doing a live remote. And also what I found out last year, because not as many people came to the pop-up shop, but what it did is it gave those business owners an opportunity to network. And it was so amazing, the things that they talked about amongst themselves, the different challenges. So that is what I'm highlighting this year, is like maybe the public doesn't come so much, but you can network with other businesses, and you never know what you may find out.
Sure.
So I'm very excited for the second annual event.
Now, talk to us. The event right now is scheduled for
next Friday, September 6th, at from 11 o'clock to 6 p.m.
All right. So what happens if we kind of get a little dinged here over the weekend? What's the backup plan?
I'm looking at a backup date is Friday, September 27th. So
Okay.
2 to 3 weeks after.
Okay.
Same place, same time. Everything should go the same.
Okay.
Another great thing this year, I'm not sure if you knew, but we have an extension of the Business Expo with a job fair. It's a partnership with the Economic Development Council and Career Source Research Coast. We have a lot of manufacturers here that have open jobs right now.
Right.
I don't want to say anybody's name because I'm not calling out any vendors, any companies.
Oh, like the person next to you, maybe? Oh.
When Mark has jobs, I'm sure he'll let us know. But we have a lot of manufacturers here that have jobs where they can't fill them. So sometimes it's good to take those jobs to the community. And with the partnership with Jill Marassa at the EDC, we have a job fair scheduled on that same morning at the
Great.
Blackburn from 9 to 12.
Okay.
We have employers like Maverick. We have Amazon that's going to be there, Coca-Cola. A number of manufacturers will be there with jobs, and that's going to be in the Blackburn building, room 214 and 215 from 9 to noon. So we've got a double event going on over there.
All
Tell me, you got to bring our resumes.
Please
Yeah,
bring your
yeah.
resume.
I will.
And there are a couple of companies that won't have recruiters there, but they're going to give information on how to apply.
Okay.
So that's great.
Good stuff.
All right. So depending on what happens over the next couple of days,
Yes.
The event could potentially be on Friday the 6th.
Yes.
September the 6th, and starting at what time in the morning?
The expo begins at 11 a.m.
Okay.
We have a welcome by the city manager, Mr. Mims, a couple of keynote speakers, Kaneria Gardner.
Okay.
With the Up Center, Dr. David Washington will be there as well, and a number of city departments as
Okay.
well.
And then if things do kind of get a little messed up around our community over the weekend, then your backup date is September the 27th.
Friday, September
Friday,
27th. Yes.
Same time starts and all that good stuff.
Same everything.
So people should just kind of probably tune in. How do they get more information
So
about the event?
We
and-
have an event page on Facebook because Facebook's the way to go these days.
You got it.
You can reach us on our City of Fort Pierce website as well. You can contact our office. Caitlin Ballard is our community resource specialist. She's in our department now, and she's also a great contact for anything community resource.
Okay. All right, Calita. Again, I'm always impressed. You're one of the hardest working people in the city of Fort Pierce. I shouldn't say that now.
There's a lot of people who work hard, like
Well,
our
that's-
public works team, who's right now
Oh,
getting
yeah.
geared up.
You're right.
and ready
You're
to
right.
work.
You're right. I take that back.
So-
Public Works are the hardest working
They
people
are. I love
in
those
our
guys.
community right now.
Yes,
You are
yes.
absolutely correct about that.
But I
So,
love this
Calita,
place. It's what I do, and it's what I'm here for. So
well,
anytime.
we appreciate what you do, and you've
Thank
done
you.
some great work in Lincoln Park, been very innovative and creative, and some great events, the Business Expo, the second year of that, and to get the local food, local places grant was a big, coup, and you're doing great work with that. So, Calita, we appreciate what you do for the city of Fort Pierce.
Thank you.
And you can always call us at the Florida SBDC. And
I do.
I am behind you 110%.
I know you are. Thank you so much. Tom.
How's the theater going?
Oh my goodness. So we are partnering with Lincoln Park Main Street to get some Florida Humanities grants. We've recently hired a grant and reporting specialist who is about 50% of her time researching grants. And that's one of her top priorities, look for arts grants, because it's not only going to go with the Lincoln Theater, but also St. Anastasia.
Nice.
So don't yes.
I forgot about that.
Don't forget about that.
Wow.
All right,
awesome.
Kalita, we appreciate the update.
Thank
So
you.
with that, we're going to take just a quick break, and stay tuned. We're going to be right back to talk about the new world-class Mega Yacht Repair Center. Director. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Startup Talk.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast. Hold tight.
And we are back. And for those just joining us, this is Startup Talk from the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute at Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, Regional Director for the Florida Small Business Development Center here at IRSC. And I am very proud and pleased to have with us in the studio tonight Mr. Mark Donahue with DERECTOR. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here.
Been looking forward to this interview for a while. Excited about this project. I know the whole community is. It's probably one of the biggest things that's happened around these parts in a long while. So going to be anxious to hear all about it this evening. But kind of start us tonight, Mark, with maybe a little bit of your background and your pathway to your current occupation with DERECTOR.
Well, thank you very much. I started out after high school not going to the traditional route of colleges, but going to trade schools where I learned the diesel mechanics trade, at which point I found a job with the DERECTOR organization in New York back in 1977.
Wow.
So since that time, I've been involved with many different aspects of the business, initially starting out as a mechanic, but that soon changed to the yard took on some government contracts, so I got involved with purchasing, project management. Further expansion of the facility took place where we opened up a $60 million yard in Rhode Island, where we took on a contract to build 9 270-foot Coast Guard cutters for approximately $400 million. That's about 30 years ago now, and all 9 of those ships are still in service today with the Coast Guard. Very proud of that accomplishment. So basically, it's been on-the-job training has been my path to where I am today.
So talk a little bit about DERECTOR itself, the company. I mean, this isn't some new startup. Not
at all.
No, it sounds like it's been around a while and got a big history. Talk a little bit about the company.
Thanks. The company started back in 1947 in New York by a gentleman by the name of Bob DERECTOR. Bob was very passionate about building boats, making sure he had the right men with the right tools and the right materials to build the best he could. So that started then and has progressed to today, where we're now looking at an opportunity here in Fort Pierce to carry on in the tradition over the past 47 years.
Where is DERECTOR currently operating in Florida?
We've been in Dania Beach for the past 50 years. Back in 1963, Bob had customers in the New York metropolitan area who said, Bob, we go down to Florida every year, and nobody's down there who can work on the boats as well as you do. So why don't you come to Florida and start a yard? And that he did. So that was in 1963, and that yard is now at peak capacity down there with a 900-ton hoist for the large yachts that come in there, and we can now handle boats up to about 210 to 220 feet there. So it's vessels that are larger than that is what our focus here in Fort Pierce will be.
Wait a minute, larger than 210?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Whoa.
So what is what's the current status of this Fort Pierce facility for Director?
Well, we were very fortunate to go through a very challenging RFQ process, and then were successful in signing a lease with St. Lucie County back in April. The base term of that lease runs for 30 years, so that'll put us out into the year 2049. And that will be followed by approximately 3 renewal terms of 15 years each. So the company has a very long way ahead of us here in the community. We're currently proceeding as planned according to our contract terms, and we're in an approval phase right now where we're getting all our permitting squared away.
What made the Fort Pierce site so desirable? I can only guess. Great, inlet and access, but you guys see it from a real detailed viewpoint. What made it such a desirable place?
As you say, location. Must admit, the port offers deep water, over 28 feet of water. There are no bridges that are going to impact a boat coming into the harbor. There are no power lines. So we're very excited about the opportunity to bring large sailing yachts to Fort Pierce. So it will not only be motorboats, but sailboats will be here in the not-too-distant future.
I remember reading an article in the New York Times about 10 years ago that the port of Fort Pierce was the last developable port on the entire eastern seaboard. Is that how you found it?
Actually, about 20 years ago, Paul Director, who is now the son of Bob Director, we're in the second generation of management of the company. He was down here and had meetings with the Bell family and wanted to go forward with a yacht activity back then, but it was not to be, and we kept it on our charts and kept an eye open for the opportunity, and here we are today.
Amazing story.
What did there kind of give us we had a great article that appeared in the first issue of Treasure Coast Business about the director and coming to St. Lucie County, and there was some great renderings, color renderings in the article, talked about what's going on. So kind of you tell us, what are plans for the site? What do you have planned in terms of building and assets? And
well, our plan is to build a functioning ship repair facility. These boats in excess of 220 feet are really ships now. They're not just your little average boats anymore. So we're going to put into place the capabilities to work on these ships, all aspects of them. And most important in that sequence is to be able to get the boats out of the water so you can work on the underbodies of the vessels. So one of the first things we'll be doing is acquiring a floating dry dock, which is a piece of equipment that it sinks in the water, and you're able to drive a boat onto the dock and then pump it out, and it lifts the boat out of the water. So now you can get to the bottom, you can repaint the bottom, you can pull the propeller shafts out, fix the rudders, all the things you do on your little runabout, but just on a much larger scale.
Yes, I have to fix all those on my little runabout, yes.
I thought we had a good-sized boat in the Marina del Rey at 50 feet.
Talk about this market. I mean, you've been around long enough to probably really have seen a change in this whole yachting market. Does it even surprise you that things have come as far as they have?
I'm amazed by it every day, and each day there's new news about another big yacht being ordered in Europe and a bigger boat on the ways. And of course, when I was just a teenager, a really, really big boat was a 100-foot boat, and those were very hard to come by. And now those are just an average size in the marketplace. But the economy has always had an impact on the marketplace. There have been ups and downs, certainly. But when you're dealing with the 1%ers who are building these really big boats, some of the economic conditions don't always affect them the way they do the normal guys around here.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about your whole kind of maybe the trickle down effect of your facility when this facility is completed and you're fully functioning. I mean, what do the crews do? Will they stay in the town? Will they use facilities? You think this will be also have an effect on downtown restaurants? I mean, does it really kind of spread around?
It absolutely does, and that's evident down at any of the economic numbers you see in Broward County, which is now considered the yachting capital of the world. We will have crews on board of these boats, anywhere from 10 to 20 individuals come with the ships. The boats could be in here for one day to multiple months, depending on how long or how much work is required. So yes, the crews want to get off the boat at night. They want to go into town. They want to have dinner, and they want to use the laundries and the chiropractors and the massage people. And it just they need to buy provisions for the boat. It's just endless. So I mean, roughly we estimate at least 300 additional jobs are created when we bring in one or two big boats.
Wow.
What would the average crew size be for a 200-footer?
Again, a 200-footer could be 10 to 12 people, certainly of that magnitude. Sometimes, there's multiple crews on these boats that are rotated out because, how often the vessels are used. So it's another big business, crew management, and again, the ripple effect is significant.
Right. I recently was down in Fort Lauderdale, and I tell you, if you haven't been to Fort Lauderdale lately, you just got to go drive around just to see the place. But we drove down the Las Olas, the main drag, and on both sides there are the canals, and I can't believe the size boats that are behind those homes. It is
amazing.
I mean, those are there's got to be some 100-footers behind homes.
Absolutely, and how they get in and out of those canals is quite the challenge. No question about it.
Drawbridges.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess even in Lauderdale, the word was that a lot of those homes are bought because of the access to the canal. People don't really live there. It's just more a place to keep the boat.
That's 100% correct. And of course, with these boats at 220 feet, there are fewer and fewer places for those vessels to go to. Another reason why Fort Pierce is very attractive. We have approximately 1,200 linear feet of bulkhead space at the port. Wow. So we plan to use every bit of it.
Wow. Those of us that are locals, and of course I had a boat my whole life, and probably the reason
not like that.
Yeah, not like that. No, I had the one that mine was the one that they put up front on the smaller ones. Yeah, but spent my whole life on that river. My father would drop me off in the morning on his way to work. I'd launch, and then he'd pick me up on his way home. That's the reason my dermatologist makes so much money today. But we always really recognized that we had something unique here in Fort Pierce and in St. Lucie County with the deep water, inlet and the turning basin, and I just don't understand. Why do you think it took so long to for others to recognize what we had here?
That's a topic for a whole nother radio program, I believe. So I'm going to let that one. I'm going to pass on that if you don't mind.
But you did recognize that we had something unique here. And
yes, and others have recognized it as well. And certainly there have been successful operations in the last few years by individuals who also wanted to be part of a longer plan here in the community. But the county did put out the RFQ, and it was a lengthy process, and we're very excited to be here now.
Yeah, well, obviously, Director, again, all kidding aside, you're not obviously a startup. You obviously are well entrenched in yacht repair, and when we kind of joked about world class, obviously that's the truth. I mean, you guys obviously are know what you're doing in this space, have a reputation. You kind of hit the ground running here.
Absolutely, and we have people going over to the Monaco Boat Show in end of September, so we are getting the word out to the crews in Europe that they do have an alternative place to go to get work done on these bigger vessels. Of course, we have to work around the seasons for these big boats, where the wintertime they're spent in the Caribbean and the summertime maybe in the Mediterranean. So we've got two windows of opportunity between their transiting back and forth to get them in and give them a shave and a haircut, and out they go.
Now, what about other assets and facilities in St. Lucie County? Did that little icing on the cake? I mean, we've got we're an international airport. You can clear customs. Did that play a role in making this a really desirable site?
Yes, the county has many great services that will be beneficial to this market for us. As you mentioned, the airport certainly. We look forward to the trains coming into Fort Pierce, whereby because there are so many individuals working in this industry down in the Broward County area, they will be able to commute back and forth possibly. That opens up new avenues for new opportunities for businesses. There is certainly a tremendous amount of opportunities for people to relocate here in this community. So we're certainly encouraging all of our subcontractors to do that. And I myself am planning, just waiting to sell my home up in the Northeast so I can move down here with my family. So we're very excited.
Yeah, and it would be an affordable, desirable place to move a family. City of Port St. Lucie, great family community. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And Fort Pierce, I've just been reading about the history of Florida, land remembered, and the wonderful stories of this community. Yeah. And it's such tremendous history. And we're, again, as I've said many times, we're very excited to be part of the future of the port.
Now, is Dania Beach going to stay open?
Absolutely. They serve a unique 220 and below. So that marketplace is still growing in the Broward area. So yes, they will stay in business. And
220 and below.
I can't
and
even
220 above. That must be quite the niche market, the 220 and above.
It is. It is a niche, and it will be quite spectacular when these boats are parked here at night. People will be able to drive down Fisherman's Wharf and literally look right at them. And so another destination spot is soon to come.
How many are they in that big range of two?
There are hundreds, hundreds of vessels in that size, right? Yes.
Wow. You talked about folks, riding the trains coming up, folks that do the work. Talk about the job opportunities and the potential wages, and what do you think this will again eventually turn into?
Well, we're forecasting approximately about 130 direct employees on staff in about 5 years' time once we have the facility up and running. So that's a big chunk of people right there. Salaries are very competitive, and of course we will be competing with other industries up here for the talented people to come work for us. But obviously, $30,000 and up starting salaries plus benefits are the norm within the industry right now. So it's competitive, and it's a very exciting place to work because every day is different. Right. It's not. I'm not working on the same Chevrolet every day. One day I have a Chevy, next day I have a Maserati, the next day I have a Cobra, and just using the car analogy, it changes quite often. So it's wonderful.
What are some of the skill sets that you're looking for?
Well, large yachts are I kind of equate them to hotels that float. So you have to have everything on board, whether it be carpentry work, electricians, welders, painters, somebody who designs throw pillows. I mean, it gets down to the silverware. It's quite extensive amount of trades that go into putting one of these boats together.
Tom, I'll teach you how to work on the teak. That
teak is a specialty, no question about it.
Yeah, I never redid the teak on my boat. No, there were many days I threatened, but I said, no, I think I'm going to pass. I'd rather just take it out and use it. What about the opportunities for those that don't possess some of the skill sets? I know that, are you going to talk about apprenticeship programs? Is that part of what you engage in? Do you do some on-the-job training, as you talked about, that you went through? And
yes, and in the RFQ, we responded with a very thorough program outlining all of the various trades and the training requirements. For the last 4 or 5 years now, we've been working in Broward County on an apprenticeship program that would have a state-sponsored certificate an individual would get after going through the curriculum. And so it's our goal is to bring that curriculum up here and work with the college, Indian River State College, to put that into place so that individuals have the opportunity to go through the training. And then when they start working in the yard, first employees are always put with someone who has experience. And we listen to the individual and we find out really what they're best suited for after about a 90-day process. And we'll know if a guy comes as a carpenter and we figure out, well, maybe he's not really a great carpenter, but he'd be a great fitter. And so we work around things like that.
Sounds a lot like what Piper is doing with IRSC, and it's the same.
That's what I was just going to talk about was that Piper this year just launched a state-approved apprenticeship program working with multiple partners, Career Source Research Coast, Brian Bauer, Marcelo, and Susan and their team at Career Source, working with the college and CCTI, and just this week, Tuesday of this week, we launched the certified production technician portion of that apprentice program for the folks up at Piper. So glad to hear that's all part of what's going on. In your planning process, I mean, how long do you think? I mean, what's kind of the first step that you're going to do? Is the dry dock area, and then when will we start seeing the boats? You think? I mean, how long will it take you to kind of get to the point where you're taking in boats?
Well, the boats will come when we're ready. I have to be very sincere about that. We want the first experiences to go off flawlessly. Right. It won't help us or the industry for a captain to come in and say, "Oh, God, I had the worst experience up there. Right. I'm never going back." Right. So,
well, I guess at your level there is quite the expectation of service.
Absolutely, service and the surrounding areas are very important. So, we've been doing very well with showing captains the facility so far. The county is in the process of demolishing an old packing house that was on the site. Once that is down, then we will be able to restore our services to the pier so that we can safely bring in vessels to the yard. So it's probably October sometime before we are going to see our first boats in here.
Wow.
October of this year?
October of this year to get
that quick.
Yes. So it could skip a little further out due to the weather and finding boats to come in here at that time of year. But we should be ready late October to start having boats come.
I thought you were talking years.
Months. Well, it's years before we're able to haul boats out.
Right.
Yes,
correct.
That infrastructure is going to take some time to build out. We're looking at a very large machine to haul boats out, and that takes 8 months to build in Europe. And then another month to ship over and 2 months to assemble. So it's not the analogy, Rome wasn't built in a day. The shipyard's going to take some time to put all these pieces together. Talk
about technology. I can't even imagine the technology that must be in these vessels today. You've got to have some. You've really got to have some incredible IT people to deal with technology.
That alone is an amazing aspect of the vessel, with window shades being controlled by your smartphone, or walking into the room and the air conditioning drops. And when you walk into that room, you should not hear that air conditioning. You must have absolute silence. And so the level of finish in these boats is just really over the top.
It's a smart house, basically.
It's a smart house that floats, yes.
Wow.
And talk about you came up through the engine side of things you talked about. I spent 20 years in the equipment business, agricultural and light industrial equipment, so have a little bit of an understanding of all that. Talk about the the engines that are now in these, the power that these boats use. What's normal now in these things?
Well, there is no normal. So we're talking, engines with ratings over 4,000 horsepower. We have to deal with environmental controls for the engines now due to regulations for the emissions. So that's now becoming a new issue for the boats. So scrubber technology is important.
Wow.
Silence is also, as I mentioned before, a very important factor on these boats. So all surfaces typically have rubber mounts. So sometimes the floors are rubber mounted, the cabins may be rubber mounted, the engines and all the rotating the machinery all have rubber mounts. So no vibrations get transmitted through the boat. So it's really an amazing engineering feat.
And you talked about, the boats being built. You mentioned overseas. Are most of these vessels built someplace else, or are some of them American built?
In that class, no. Director did build the last large motor yacht at 284 feet about 3 years ago. But now primarily all the boats come from Northern Europe, Germany, Holland, Italy. Those are the hotbeds for the big yachts right now.
And of course, you probably have relationships with the builders because, of course, you're providing. Do you provide like warranty work for some of these boats?
We do, and that's always a very interesting topic because nobody seems to want to pay the bill at the end of the day when a warranty comes
Gee,
up.
what a surprise!
So the yachting industry is not like other industries where you find people who always want to find a way not to pay their bills.
Wow.
It's quite another challenging aspect to the business.
Wow. Does Director still have facilities up north where you're?
Yes, we have the home port in Mamaroneck, New York, which is just 23 miles outside of New York City on Long Island Sound. So that's been there since 1947. We have a marina up in Georgetown, Maine, which is a lovely cruising ground.
Love it up there.
Actually, it's gotten really cold up there, so the reports have already come in. So those are our primary facilities, and then of course Dania Beach for the last 50 years. That's
Wow. Well, of course, I know everybody's excited that you're here. It is truly, in its simplest terms, it's a big deal in Fort Pierce and St. Lucie County. And how does one get more information on Director and the possible jobs? And are you guys at a point where you're doing things like that yet?
We are not doing that just yet. We do have our website, of course, Derector.com, and Director is spelled unusually in that it's DERECTOR.com. And there, all the postings will be there about future job sites, whether it's a job in New York or Maine or Fort Pierce.
Okay. And again, probably, as you said, might see some activity within the next, 3 or 4 months down there, but really gonna take a little while before you guys are really, hitting on all the cylinders down there.
That's correct. And September 2020 is really the target launch date for the full operations and hauling boats out.
Okay. Well, again, it really is an exciting time, and I'm assuming that your management team is also and as you said, it was Paul Director.
Yeah, it's like a family business. So and I, full disclosure, I am married to Paul's older sister, so I am a family member as well.
Well, nice. Well, I'm sure they're very excited about the new facility. They got to be kind of charged up because it really is like you. I think I heard you say before we started the show. You've got really a blank sheet of paper down there. You know.
That is it. Blank canvas. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, with that, so excited to have you on the show tonight, Mark, to talk to us about what's going on with Director and what's going on in downtown Fort Pierce and at the Port of Fort Pierce, and really looking forward to kind of seeing what the future brings down there. Very exciting. Thank you for updating us, and thank you for kind of seeing the diamond in the rough up here and taking advantage of it.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate that.
We really appreciate it, and are excited to be working with the college and the community, and we see nothing but positive outcome in the future.
Absolutely. Okay, with that, we will bring to close another segment and installment of Startup Talk right here from the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute at Indian River State College. You can always get more information about all the business assistance and resource programs by checking out that www.irscbiz.com. That's irscbiz.com. As always, want to thank our partners here at WPSL, WSTU, WPSL TV. Thank our guests tonight, Calita from the City of Fort Pierce and Mark Donahue from Director, the world-class large
yacht repair
yacht repair facility. There you have it. we'll see you. Hopefully, listen, everybody stay safe out there this week, and we'll talk to you next Thursday evening on Startup Talk.
And our new name for Startup Talk?
Small Biz Florida.
Small Biz Florida, right here.
We are the world-class provider of business information.
There you go. Oh, boy. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie. WPSL.com, webcaster to the world, on Alexa and Google Home.